Well, it's not often that I make, these NASCAR, race reviews. I just stopped because I don't know, it's just not really my thing. But guys, holy crap. That has to be probably the best Bristol race I think I've seen. And here's the thing about me. I have not seen every single NASCAR Cup Series race, so I'm pretty sure that people are, not going to take that comment seriously. I don't know, people are probably going to tell me that there's probably a better race back in 20, back in the 2010s or the 20, or the, or, during the 2010, during the 2010s or the 2000s or the 90s, the 80s, but my time I've been watching NASCAR. I've watched NASCAR full time since 2017, and I've seen Bristol Motor Speedway. It is my favorite NASCAR track, and this has to be the best Bristol race I think I've seen. Especially it's good, and especially it's probably the best of the next gen era. So before we go ahead and we get really into the meat and potatoes in this race, before I don't know. So the Bristol Spring Race, as we all know, has been it's fallen off in the last few couple of years. Mostly because it keeps getting rained out. Also because around that time also as well, just the racing on product was kind of okay and all that sort of stuff. This was really where the top lane was really the best at Bristol Motor Speedway, and the fact of the matter is that the Bristol Spring Race was probably one of the worst attended NASCAR races. For Bristol Motor Speedway to be a big coliseum, they literally call it the last great coliseum, and for them not to fill up the seats. Now, the Bristol Night Race is a huge success. Still is. And all that sort of stuff. That's probably the best attended Bristol race. For the Spring Race, though, however, I personally think, the reason why it's fallen off was because of the weather, the way they placed it in the time of the year. Now, I've been to Tennessee before, and it of course rains a lot over there. It doesn't really matter if it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it rains and all that sort of stuff. But it really seems like that in March, that is the worst time. And I've been to Tennessee in the fall, in October. And it seems like in the spring, that is the worst time to be in Tennessee, especially in northeastern Tennessee, in Bristol, near the Virginia and Tennessee state line and all that sort of stuff. I personally think that's the reason why the Bristol Spring Race has fallen off. Now, NASCAR has attempted to try to do something with this race with the Bristol Dirt Race. I personally was not a big fan of the Bristol Dirt Race. It just really was. My biggest gripe was because Bristol's such, again, a great racetrack that we have to sacrifice it for a dirt race when they could easily reschedule it to the summer. Not near the Bristol night race, which is usually in August or September. I honestly think that this race should be held how they did it back in 2020, during June, and all that sort of stuff, because in that weekend there was no rain or anything like that. And they were able to run the race with no rain with anything at all. So this race, though, however, the key of this race was tires. Here's really what we have here today. I have the stats right here, but I'm going to read you this one line. In a race that produced 54 lead changes, a record for the Cup Series short tracks, Hamilton lost the lead briefly to Joker's Racing teammate Mark Truex Jr. in the closing laps, but regained it in traffic and beat Truex to the finish line. And yeah, there you go. I'm not going to read the whole entire thing because I'm not Black Flags Matter, and I don't, what you fucking call it? I'm not plagiarizing anything. I'm not going to do any of that bullshit. We're going to keep it real here. So the results, of course, Denny Hamlin, the winner of this race, is a Chastain fan. But the thing here today is the top three here. I want to talk about the top three. Denny Hamlin, Mark Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski. These three drivers are the veterans of the sport. Denny Hamlin, of course, with 40-plus wins, no championship, of course, but still a veteran of the sport. Started his career, his Cup Series career, back in 2006. Martrix Jr. started, of course, his career back in, I think, '04, or I think it was '05 or '06. Brad Keselowski, of course, started in the late 2000s. But the point of the matter is that Denny Hamlin, Martrix Jr., Brad Keselowski, the top three here today, experience won this race. Hamlin, Truex, and Keselowski, they've all driven in the Gen 4, the COT, the Gen 6, and the next gen era, and that is what won them the race. Now, what really made this race for me was just the tires. Now, I've seen a lot of comments online saying that this race was horrible and it was at levels of 2008, the Brickyard 400, which I personally disagree with. Unlike really today, the problem with Indy really at that race was the tires just kept blowing up almost every single lap. And also the fact of the matter was that it was a much bigger track, a 2.5 mile racetrack with short chutes and all that sort of stuff. I think that was really the deciding factor, really, as to why that race was just so horrible. But here today, though, like, we didn't see tires like blow up. We certainly, blow up. We saw them go flat, tires going down, but we didn't see them really blow up. Now, one thing that I will say, now, again, I love this race because of the tire strategy. You know, drivers having to be conservative with tires, and it just produced a crazy racing, and all that sort of stuff. One thing that I will kind of agree with some people is that it felt like it was just really too excessive. Like, it feels like after, 40 or so laps, the tires just went down completely and you just can't, drive the car. I would rather prefer, and especially if NASCAR, removes the stage cautions, have a long green flag run, and then the tires are going down. And then you're forced to pit. And that really kind of goes to show, and all that sort of stuff. Now, a lot of the drivers, especially the younger drivers, like Blaney, and I think Larson, have complained that, they don't really want to run a race like this anymore, which goes to show that experience won the race. I'm not going to throw shade at Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney, but it goes to show these guys right here still have a lot to learn, especially with, trying to conserve tires and all that sort of stuff. And again, Denny Hamlin, Martrix Jr., Brad Keselowski, they were up in the lead, and that won them the race. And ultimately, also, too, I also want to go ahead and shout out Ty Gibbs and Christopher Bell. They were bad fast here today. And I'm not going to say that these drivers are, talentless and they don't know how to conserve tires. They do, but not to this extent. It still goes to show that drivers like Christopher Bell and especially Ty Gibbs, who he was fast here today. I think he's going to win a race this season. He is going to win a race. The Toyotas are just bad fast. They showed at Phoenix, and they showed it here today, that they're fast. But ultimately, the win will not come to Ty Gibbs here today because, again, experience is what won the race. And also tires, also, too. But looking here at the results, I've, of course, mentioned that Denny Hamlin, the race winner, Martrix Jr., and then Brad Keselowski, and all that sort of stuff. And then Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson. And then after that, 6 on down, everyone was either 1 lap down or 2 laps down. Yeah, only 5 lead lap cars in this race. God damn, this is classic NASCAR at its finest. Man, wow. But I want to go ahead and also shout out John Hunter Nemechek. Ran a pretty good race. Although, and again, for a lot of these younger drivers, they have a lot to learn. And a lot of these drivers are younger drivers. You can see Chris Buescher, who won back in 22. Chase Elliott, up there as well, showed some speed, but really wasn't a factor. Of course, Ty Gibbs, Christopher Bell, they were able to finish in the top 10, but ultimately, again, experience is what I think ultimately won the race. Mike McDowell is in 11th. Also, I gotta shout out Josh Berry. I feel like if NASCAR had a driver of the day kind of voting thing kind of going on, I honestly think that Josh Berry, would win the driver of the day. Then after that, Chase Briscoe, good results for SHR, pretty good results for them. Though unfortunately it was not in the top 10. I think that they'll ultimately improve. And Ryan Preece is in 14th. So SHR not doing bad, but of course we know that they could be performing in the top 10. Blaney in 16th, Justin Haley in 17th in a Rick Ware car. Suarez, Casgrala 19th, and another Rick Ware car. Eric Jones was there. and 20th. And then Corey LaJoy, 21st. Oh boy, Joey Logano, 22nd. These Penske cars have just not been, they have the speed in qualifying, but not the speed in the race. And it's funny because over there in IMSA, they've been winning races. And in IndyCar, Joseph Newgarden got the win last weekend at St. Petersburg. And I think one of the Penske cars is probably going to win at the Thermal Club this next weekend. Want to give a shout out to the IndyCar guys. But the NASCAR guys, not good. AJ Allmendinger, 23rd in the Mountain Dew Cheetos car. But Austin Dillon, 24th. Man, Kyle Busch, it was just, the car was just not there today. The pit stops were just absolutely just horrible. And then Todd Gilliland, he was running a bit slow. Carson Hosford, 27. Honestly, bit of a disappointing result since he finished 11th here. I thought he was going to maybe get a top 10. And then Daniel Hemrick, same story about Daniel Hemrick. Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick got caught up in a crash early on. Not great of a day for Tyler Reddick. He's gonna go back to COTA, which he did won last year. So we'll see if he'll defend his title. Austin Cindric, my God, he was getting in every single freaking crash. Don't know why. Kind of goes to show that, Tim Cindric was like, you ain't going to cut it out as an IndyCar driver, so go over to NASCAR. Kind of goes to show how things are going there. Harrison Burton, don't even want to mention it. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. being Ricky Stenhouse. Noah Gragson, kind of honestly, I was hoping that he would perform better, but ultimately, and he get caught up in one of the crashes, I think. William Byron had a blown tire, and Zane Smith having a really bad season. Really, really tough season for Zane Smith. But really, that's the results for the Bristol race and for the Bristol spring race. And now that we kind of cycle back around here, now I think it's ultimately time to sort of a little bit talk about the really kind of what really should be done with the Bristol spring race, and ultimately just kind of my final thoughts. Okay, so first of all, I have to say that for this race, I think I made it clear. I love this race. I really liked it. Again, this had the feel of really classic NASCAR. Because really in this race, the things that we saw here today, we didn't see countless crashing. Like drivers driving in over their heads. We didn't see stupid shenanigans. The race, while it did have a lot of cautions, they were all natural cautions, except for some of the stage cautions, of course, but we just have to really honestly just live, kind of with that. And then also, too, I mean, and honestly, here's the thing that really makes a good race for me. What makes a good race here for me is if, number one, overtaking Formula One, that's something that you should improve on. Number two, I guess, just passes for the lead. 54 passes for the lead. That just goes to show how a lot of the cars were just so competitive. Just really kind of goes to show how competitive really this race was. I know that may not seem like anything to some people, but it is to me. Okay, you can say that. You can say I'm wrong about that. It's my opinion. Okay, don't get too mad. And also there was a long green flag run, no overtimes. This goes to show that really short track short track racing isn't just about bumping, being and banging. Cars trying to, kill each other. And while I'm not opposed to that, hell, I honestly have to say this. I didn't mind the 2023 fall Xfinity race where Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed basically were trying to kill each other. I didn't mind that at all. Mind that at all, but it's not great. Not a great look for them. And honestly, just kind of was just got it turned to a shit show. And I think that's and I think, it's fine to have one shit show race once in a while, but not all the time. That's really what I want to say here. And then just the long green flag runs. This goes to show who's good and who's not really great. Now, I guess it's now time to talk about really also too now what should be done with the Bristol spring race. Oh yeah, also about the short track races too coming up. And also kind of a little bit of a shout out here. The truck race also was pretty good too. So I think, and here's the thing about the truck series. We know that it's in a really bad state. I think we're long gone from, and here's the thing about what should be really done with the truck series. I honestly think that that the trucks really honestly should just be racing at short tracks. You know, they shouldn't be racing on these big tracks. I think that's really better for the younger drivers to learn and all that sort of stuff. And I think we're long gone from the days of having veterans and we have to deal with Matt Crafton and Stuart Friesen. Oh my God, don't even get me started on Stuart Friesen. Oh my God. But talk about, the short track, about the short track races. What I really kind of hope, though, is that NASCAR, they look at this race, and I hope that they just really don't overreact, and they completely and Goodyear brings like a hard tire, like at Richmond, Martinsville, and like North Wilkesboro, Iowa. I want to see tire fall off, not to like this extent, but a little bit, like 50-50 even, like at Martinsville, Richmond, North Wilkesboro, and Iowa. I think for Iowa, they really need it, because I'm really glad Iowa's on the schedule, even though it replaces my Auto Club Speedway, but who cares? But a lot of people say, who cares? They're probably not even going to do the short track race there, but I really hope, though, that this means that the short track races are back. I really do hope so. And I guess really for the other kind of flat tracks like Dover, New Hampshire, Phoenix. Well, Phoenix is just bad in general. Let's be really honest here. Hopefully that can really make some good racing there too. But yeah. So now I think I'm gonna leave my thoughts here as to what should be done with the Bristol Spring Race. In my honest opinion, here's the thing I would want. I want the Bristol Spring Race to be moved to at least close to the summer. And I would like it to be one of the races after maybe the Coke 600. And then afterwards, then maybe NASCAR, they then go to St. Louis, and then they go over to Sonoma and all that sort of stuff. And I honestly think that Bristol should still have 2 races. I'm on that boat right now. Now, if you honestly ask me, if they want to bring back a track like Nashville, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, which a lot of people have said that should replace this race, and maybe if hell even the attendance keeps struggling, maybe if they move it to like June, then okay, I wouldn't be opposed to them maybe removing a Bristol race, which would make me sad. But maybe they give it to the North Wilkesboro, or maybe not the North Wilkesboro race. I honestly think they should like remove a Las Vegas race, and like keep that to the playoffs, and they should have North Wilkesboro be in the early part of the season, or just keep it on the All-Star race. I could talk about that all day long. But the point of the matter is, I still want 2 Bristol races. I still want 2. NASCAR should be on dirt. The Cup Series, maybe not. For Xfinity and trucks, yes. So I think that's really going to wrap things up. Just so you guys know, this is not going to be a normal thing. And here's the thing is that I'll only really make these race reviews if there's something positive or there's something negative. So we're going to go to COTA next weekend. Hopefully the drivers there won't drive like retards and try to go 4, 5, or 6, 8, or 8 wide racing over in turn 1. We'll see how it goes. Thank you guys so much for watching. And also, I'm excited for the Xfinity race because we're going to see how AJ and SVG are going to go up against each other. So see you guys all later, and I'll see you next time.